Especially our 16-year-old saying their parents still going to school.
Now?
Yeah, you're good. Everyone good?
Okay.
Good? All right. Yeah, you're distanced enough.
I will, only because I'm getting dental.
Up to you, whatever
Okay.
you prefer.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Lou Bonet. I'm a parent of 3 New York City public school kids. Malachi, 16, Ethan, 11, and Nathaniel, 9. I'm here to encourage all parents, if they feel comfortable, of course, and understanding their personal circumstances, that going back to school should not be a problem. Not in the sense of children not being healthy, but psychologically, we need to encourage our kids to go back into socialization, into environments where they're engaging with each other, environments where they're being held accountable with their authority figures. But most importantly, our kids need to be out the way we were when we were growing up. We all got the same development that we're asking for our children, and I think that we should maintain the development that they're still going through despite COVID, through allowing them to go back into the same routine that they know best, going into the building, interacting with their teachers, getting a break from their parents and siblings, and just allowing their minds to see different things that they don't see on a regular basis when they're home. So I ask that parents continue to communicate with one another and just have discussions, maintaining the understanding of what their child needs for them to make the proper decision into sending their child in the building or if they're going to be home. But at the same time, too, despite the fact that we've gone through the system, New York numbers are very low. So that's a good, encouraging thing to look at to allow for you to say, you know what, let me see. If you've been to the beach, if you've been to outdoor dining, if you've been to a lot of places, the supermarket, I think our kids should be able to go at least in the building and allow them to see if maybe things will actually work out while the numbers are low. If the numbers change, I'm sure the city has a different plan. But while they're still low, allow our kids to go back to what they know as the normal social things that allow them to develop into the wonderful women and men that we want them to be. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce the Mayor of New York, Mayor de Blasio.
Thank you so much, Lou.
Very
Appreciate
welcome.
that. Thank you. Well said. Well said. I want to thank Lou Bonet for really laying out beautifully what so much, actually I'm distant, so I'm going to take this off, what so much of the conversation was in the room with the parents about the power of being in a New York City public school and what it means to be with teachers and educators and staff who care about the kids and are there to uplift the kids, that nothing replaces that human contact, that support, that love. And the parents, all of them spoke from the heart about their own children, what they had gone through during this pandemic, what they were missing, what they needed. Everyone expressed the appreciation that remote learning gave them something, but they all said it wasn't the same, it wasn't enough, and particularly for kids with special needs, for kids who had academic challenges, kids who needed the motivation of being in a school building surrounded by caring adults. Came through loud and clear that these parents were making a choice because that's what their kids needed. So I want to thank you, Lud, thank all the other parents, and I just want to say to the principal, you're doing something remarkable here. Thank you for all you did with the Regional Enrichment Center, keeping that work going for the kids of essential workers. But thank you also, I can tell there's a lot of spirit here about everyone working together in this school community to come back. And you gave us a great lesson in terms of the creativity this school applied, making its own choices about what was going to work for this school community. So thank you for your leadership and for reminding us of what a school means. And before I bring on the chancellor, I just want to say that I think there were some very powerful moments in that discussion about the larger meaning of a school to a family. One of the parents said, for some kids, particularly kids who are less privileged, particularly kids whose families have gone through a lot of challenges, that the time in school each day is the light of their day. the light of their day, the time in their day when they have hope and when they can see past whatever challenges their current circumstances have. And that's part of why I believe it's so important to come back now and give kids that support again. So with that, I'm going to turn to the Chancellor with deep appreciation to you and your team. And we're seeing day by day the gathering momentum as we get ready to start school. We saw the good work being done by the ventilation action teams getting us ready. Thank you for all your good work and your team. Come on up, Chancellor Carranza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I also want to add my voice to thank Lude and Monet, Kashmir, Henry, and Lisa, who are the other parents that took time to share with us very personal and intimate anecdotes about their children and why they've made the decision that they are all in on blended learning. So I want to thank you for that perspective. Very helpful. I also want to give a shout out to our principal, Mr. Brett Schneider. You run a good ship here, sir. And one of the things that you should all know is that as we speak, this site also serves as a regional education center, enrichment center. So there are children that have been here, the children of first responders and essential personnel, since March, and Mr. Schneider has volunteered his time the entire time, including all summer, to be the 2-shift-a-day administrator here at this site. So I can't think of a more poignant and powerful example of someone who is all in for children, sir. So thank you. I also understand this may be the site of some outdoor learning activities in the very near future. Is that correct? Okay. I don't want to blow his surprise, but I think that's a good thing as well. As the mayor has said, we've just spent some really incredibly powerful time listening to parents, directly from parents, who have shared with us reasons why they have made the decision to be all in. Lude has spoken about, in her calculus, in her decision-making process, the fact that New Yorkers have done the hard work of really suppressing the community spread of COVID-19, and that's why she feels confident that we can come back to a blended learning environment and our students will be safe. When she's seen what her school has been doing in terms of the PPE and the disinfectant, but more importantly, when she speaks to her children about what they miss their teachers, they miss the routine, they miss their friends, they miss the knowledge of being in a regular routine with others, and how powerful that has been for her children, and how she's seen that her children have suffered without having that in-person kind of interaction. It was very powerful. The mayor and I work with plans all day. We work with multiple plans and plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And then for every plan, we have critics A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So to hear directly from our parents has been just very, very powerful. So I want to thank you for that. I mentioned the rec site that is here. We've learned a tremendous amount from our rec sites. Everything from how we enter the building to how we keep PPE on, how do we keep masks on children, how do we encourage safe practices for social distancing, how do we make sure that students are hand washing and that they're sanitizing and we're continuously cleaning. Those are all great examples that we've learned from the rec sites here, and I'm very happy to say that at this rec site we have had no cases of spread here at this rec site, so there is proof that this actually works. So I could say many, many more things, but I do want to say we are going to continue to work every single day to get to the point where our students and our staff can come together. September will be the time, and New Yorkers, help us continue to follow the safety advice of our medical experts so that we have this opportunity to come together. And to all parents, I'm going to say now is the time to start speaking to your children about what this school year will look like. That social distancing, what will that mean? That the wearing of face masks, what will that mean? That we will have smaller groups, that we'll eat our lunch in one area, not the big cafeteria. It's time now to explain to our children what's going to be different, while also celebrating the fact that they will be able to see their teachers and their friends again very soon. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor. Thank you all.
You can stick around. I think you'll be needed for the Q&A. Just want to say one more point. It was very striking. The classroom we looked at where the ventilation action team was doing the inspection. That classroom's going to have 9 students in it under the plan for reopening. I asked the principal what number of students would have been in that in a normal time. He said between 24 and 28 students. So I just want everyone to understand the amount of innovation, the intense changes that principals and educators are making to be able to keep kids safe. That is a massive difference to go from 24 to 28 kids to only 9 kids, on further evidence of how we can create the distancing our kids need. Okay, with that, let's take some questions. Go ahead, Katie.
I wanted to ask, I know I asked this morning, but there's this video being shared by educators and principals of the toilet paper on a stick. It looks like it's testing that there's air coming out, but does it also test the amount? Can you explain that process? If I know it shows, okay, yes, there is air coming out of these vents, but it doesn't matter how much air is coming out, and how does that get
I can't give you a great technical answer. I can say that I talked this morning with our health folks, and they said, yeah, it is a matter of making sure there's just consistent airflow coming out of it, and that's actually the way the CDC recommends you test these things as well. Would you have anything to add?
Yes, so the tissue test is a test for airflow. And I think that some of these issues are getting a little conflated. There's airflow to make sure that there is actually air being exchanged within a room. And then there's air quality. Air quality uses CO2 machines and they measure CO2, but you don't do that in an empty room. You obviously have to have people in the room to then measure all the breath, and I forget what it's called, carbon dioxide, I guess it is, and oxygen. So this is a CDC recommended method for testing airflow. What the engineers also said to us, which was very powerful, is that in this building, they have these very large sweeping windows. So they're also testing to make sure that you can open windows and have that air exchange as well. So it's all part of determining and making sure that we're able to have airflow in a building. And again, that's a CDC recommended method for testing flow.
Not to belabor the tissue on a stick situation, but one thing that I saw in the video that was being shared was teachers were asking, what if air is coming out of one vent but not the other? And the person who was doing the testing from the SCA said, oh, well, in a test was making air coming out of more than one vent, but it seemed as if they were saying that the form only asked, does it work, yes or no, not, does vent A, vent B, vent C work. So can you give us, I guess, a little bit more specifics on, like, is there a degree to which the issue has to prove, and then, how many of these vents have to work, like, is there some kind of work to make sure the right lessons are on and off?
I don't want Richard and I to pretend to be engineers. Why don't we tomorrow, we'll get one of the folks in for the press conference who's actually expert, but clearly the goal here is to have all the different ways you can get airflow operational. One of the things we said is some windows had for a long time not been open. We're now going to make those open up. Obviously, if a vent isn't working, we want to repair it. The goal here is to maximize the amount of air flowing through a room. So I understand videos and I understand concerns and people question bureaucracy, but the charge given to these engineers is tell us if it's good enough. If it's not, tell us we got to fix it. We are not afraid of fixing things. But let's get an expert for you for tomorrow. Yeah.
One question that we heard sometimes from parents and teachers is, why are we doing this now with 2 weeks to go?
Again, we've been at this since June 3rd. That was the first run through by the custodial engineers. This is a final run through. I said to people this morning, we're getting ready for liftoff. This is a final run through. What we're finding, we'll have numbers in the morning, but hundreds of schools have already passed. They've been all their classrooms checked. And we're going to continue to give you updates day by day of how many schools are been fully checked and ready to go. I don't want to leave a misimpression. The work's been going on all summer. You had something.
Canciller Carranza, ¿nos puede decir en español, por favor? ¿Nos puede explicar
What question?
Hágame por favor la pregunta.
El proceso de medir la calidad del aire dentro de las escuelas?
Sí, hay varios métodos para medir el aire. Uno es la ventilación, que esté corriendo el aire, y el otro es la calidad del aire. Lo que se está haciendo ahorita es asegurar que hay ventilación, que está corriendo el aire, que las ventanas puedan subir y abrir, que haya viento que está saliendo de los ductos del aire acondicionado. Eso es lo que se está examinando en este momento. Y uno de los métodos, la pregunta tiene que ver con un video en que tienen un pedazo de papel de baño que enseña que el viento está corriendo. Es un método que es recomendado por la CDC. Entonces queremos que el viento esté corriendo, y también se van a hacer exámenes en cuanto haya personas en la calidad, porque solamente cuando haya personas en el aula se puede hacer los exámenes de calidad.
Go ahead over there. Go ahead.
Sorry, toilet paper test again.
You guys are really interested in this.
Who sent it to me are very concerned because the classroom that we have does not have windows. That they could see out. To make toilet paper flow, it doesn't really have a chair. So as you can imagine, they're very concerned. They thought that the ventilation actually would go from previous testing. Do you consider this toilet paper testing?
Again, I don't, guys, I understand why it captures your imagination, but I don't want to take one school, one person, and treat that as the entire school system. We will get with you tomorrow at our press conference, some of the folks who are the experts in this field, to tell you how the tests are going on. But I want you to be more clear about our mandate to the engineers, to the school's construction authority, to principals. If the airflow is not good enough, we want to know about it so we can fix it. We don't want to, again, I think there's almost like a misunderstanding here. I don't want a child in a room that doesn't have proper airflow. If we find it, then the question is, can you fix that room? There's still plenty of time to make whatever changes we need to make. And if we can't, we're not going to use that room. We've been really clear about it. We're just not going to use the room. Go ahead.
Some teachers have sent a letter of the state and the city. I sent you a letter.
Did you say District 6?
From District 6. And they're saying that they may not have enough teachers. One teacher to 11 student ratio. What happens to them in class or to those students when they not fit into a classroom if they don't have enough teachers?
Well, clearly, I'll start and let the Chancellor in this. Look, I think we should realize that people are taking very, very seriously this low class size is the lowest class sizes we've ever seen in history, obviously. So today, a classroom with 9 students, I mean, imagine that. So what we're going to do is we have to keep making sure that we can accommodate those kids if a school needs additional staffing. Chancellor's talked about it. There are educators throughout the school system doing other types of jobs. They'll come into service. Substitute teachers, obviously we use them all the time. So we're going to work with each school to figure out what they need and get them the help they need.
Yes, so what I would also just add to that, and I think the mayor touched upon many of those things. So we've already mobilized anyone that has an underlying credential, a teaching credential, that are outside of a school environment. And these are very talented people. They're literacy coaches, they're early childhood coaches, they're master teachers. But we've identified all of those personnel. In addition, we've mobilized and, if you will, put a reservation with every single one of our substitutes as well. We've also reached out to CUNY around some of their personnel as well. So as schools are in the process now of programming their school, and there are some variables that are important here too. Some schools may have a higher percentage of their faculty that have applied for and received a medical accommodation, which takes them out of the mix for in-person learning. But that gives them more personnel for the remote learning because they're still teaching. So every school is going to be a little different, but principals have been great about giving us that information. And then we are working very closely with both UFT and CSA on being able to have some flexibility as well on staffing the different models, the remote learning model, the in-person blended model, and then the virtual. So again, lots of complex issues, but we're working through them, and our expectation is that we will start the school year being able to man every single one of those learning modalities.
Okay, everyone, we got only time for a few more, so let me get people who haven't had a chance. Go ahead.
How is the DOE
collecting data on the ventilation systems and tracking their performance over the school year, especially in the wintertime.
You mean throughout the year?
Throughout the year.
Yeah.
Especially since in the wintertime the windows are likely going to stay closed. And will that information, how will that information be shared with families?
Yeah, so I'll start and turn to the Chancellor, and we'll certainly say more about this tomorrow, too. Look, again, first of all, I don't start with the assumption the windows will be closed in the wintertime. It really depends on the configuration of the room and what works and what doesn't. But we absolutely must, to your question, we have to have the right airflow in every room. So if there's times in winter we have to do something different, we still have to feel comfortable that the airflow is right. And that's just ongoing inspection. That's what custodial services is there to do, to make sure things are working. And I'll tell you something, I think I'll talk to a lot of custodial engineers over time. They're very devoted to their buildings, their kids, the school community. So my simple answer, and tell me if you want to add, is we're going to monitor throughout the year. It's not just for the first day. We're going to monitor throughout the year. That's right. Okay, go ahead. Sure. I wanted the principal to jump in and give you a real live example of what he's thinking of. But look, the idea is this is not new on the level of, principals, teachers have used outdoor spaces previously. They've used streets adjoining schools that have been closed off. There's plenty of experience, courtyards, playgrounds. There's all sorts of experience doing it. We're saying to each principal, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? How can we help you do it? How many roughly applications have you gotten? What's your latest?
We're over 300.
Over 300 applications, in a day and a half. I mean, it's clearly, and you'll hear in a moment from the principal, these are professionals who think about this stuff all day, every day. So we want to help them. If they say, okay, I need to use this playing field, great. They say, can we close off a street next to the school? If it's one that doesn't have like a bus route or something on it, we can do it, or do it just for the part of the school day, great. But I think it is an opportunity for them to be creative and do some things that they've been thinking of doing. So let's have a real life example of talk to everyone about how you think about outdoor dining, not outdoor learning.
Hi, you can hear me. I'm Dr. Brett Schneider, the principal of Bronx Collaborative, founding principal. Not used to taking masks off anymore. Hi, Dr. Schneider. So, as a campus council, we meet weekly, and we have, as you see, amazing physical spaces. All of the schools on this campus identified outdoor spaces that we could book so that we had consistency to be able to look innovatively at how to set stuff up so that it wasn't, oh, today can I find a field? So, for example, 2 weeks ago in campus council, I booked the football field for the semester. One of the other schools booked the soccer field. We've begun conversations. Just earlier, actually, we were talking about how can we effectively get tenting, sort of like if you're having an outdoor wedding or event, right? There's lots of ways that as long as the weather, that you can deal with a certain amount of inclement weather. Obviously, beyond a certain point you can't, but with sort of the vinyl or plastic tenting with sides and zipper and heating, there's a lot of power to that. And I think the Department of Ed has been super responsive in hearing our questions and taking the spirit of communicating. Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the things that has also been an innovation that the DOE has supported is innovative programming. And so my school, for example, used the exception model, and our families, our school leadership team, students, parents, and teachers put together an innovative programming model that would allow us to do that. So the reason why we're able to take a space of 28 and cut it down to 9 is because we're using a program model called 4 on the floor, where instead of 8 classes at once, you take 4, double the amount of class time and credit so that there's fewer adults the students are seeing, and those students in a 9-person pod can focus for the entire semester, all 108 hours to meet the state credit requirements for those courses between the remote and in the place. So that sort of allows that flexibility where we have enough space inside to do that model even without the outdoor space. And so the way we're looking at it is a supplement to especially the climate and culture, especially for if we want to have a meeting of half of grade right? Like indoors, there's no way to do that. And I think part of the power of having the football field or these fields for all of the schools is we all want to maintain the warmth. Part of what all the parents shared earlier is you can't replace the warmth of feeling faculty that like love and adore your children on that first day and the energy that comes with school. And so having the ability to be innovative and bring back that feeling so that it's not just you're only in that 9-person room the entire year and you can never see other classmates. And so I think that's the balance. It's supplemental. It doesn't, for us, and I think a lot of people are trying to use it in those ways, the outdoor spaces, to supplement and enrich rather as the only option.
Go ahead.
Chancellor, question for you. Regarding the outdoor learning, nearly 24 Bronx principals recently wrote a letter about outdoor classrooms, saying that in their neighborhoods it's too dangerous. In fact, someone was killed this weekend outside of PS1 in the Melrose section, and the parents are finding used syringes and broken bottles in the neighborhood. What's your response to this?
Well, I think that's why this is an option. It's not a requirement. It's not a mandate. Again, the announcement that we made is that my fellow commissioners and I have agreed that we will flatten the bureaucracy of outdoor learning, especially in some of those examples that the mayor talked about. Maybe there's a street to be closed or for a part of the day. Obviously here, there's not that kind of an issue because this is all part of this campus's I would say square footage. But yeah, this isn't for everyone. And that's why it's an option. It's not a mandate. We understand that there are some places where it physically and geographically may not be possible in other circumstances. But wherever communities do want to pursue it, we want to be in a role to assist them in making it happen.
All right, last call. You didn't go yet. Go ahead.
Canciller en español, ¿cuál es el plan para trabajar la salud mental de los niños cuando regresen a clase? Ustedes hablaron de eso esta mañana.
Sí, el plan que tenemos, hicimos un anuncio esta mañana acerca de la salud mental de los alumnos. Es sumamente importante para nosotros que cuando vuelvan nuestros estudiantes no tan solo tengan ellos el apoyo académico que necesiten y que es su derecho, sino que también sabemos que todos neoyorquinos hemos pasado por trauma a través de este virus. Entonces, en cuanto vuelvan ellos, ya entrenamos a los directores, los maestros ya entrenamos a 5,000 maestros y va a haber entrenamiento para los demás maestros en cómo asistir y cómo ayudarlos a los estudiantes procesar y tomar cuenta de lo que han pasado con el trauma. Entonces es un anuncio que hicimos esta mañana. Tenemos el apoyo de varias fundaciones, Robin Hood, Gray Foundation, Silver Foundation, el Fund for Public Schools. Todos han contribuido para hacer lo posible a entrenar a nuestros maestros y nuestros directores.
Okay, we'll see you in the morning, everybody. Thank you.